Alright, now, I know I said the last two times I spoke about Colin Kaepernick, I wasn't going to talk about it again. That was either late last year or early this year. But here we are, new situations regarding this man. However, it cannot be ignored because I've seen individuals in the media, I've seen individuals in comment sections, I've seen individuals, in person who simply cannot comprehend what the conversation should be. Now, I'm not one to dictate what people should be talking about, but it seems like a ton of things are being misconstrued, information being convoluted. So I figured, why not break down, what transpired this past weekend and the significance that this workout would have had, or the fallout from it has, regarding Colin Kaepernick, the NFL, and breaking it down from there. But first and foremost, let me just state my affiliation. Now, I have contradictory thoughts on how I felt about Colin Kaepernick initially. When he made his stance, I said, you know what, I support him. I understand why he had a just reasoning in why he decided to do it. I felt as if maybe he did it the wrong way when it came to kneeling for the national anthem, but I understood. Things began to transmogrify when the president, Donald Trump, made this about, it's anti-American and everything else like that. All of a sudden, the initial cause of, wanting to raise awareness and what it was initially about turned into an us versus them sort of situation. That's when I shifted on how I felt about Cap, because rather than continually bring it back to what it initially was, it turned into, the entity of the NFL, they support this because they haven't come and support me, and now it's a me versus them. Once it became that, I said, wait a minute, you're missing what this was all about. Then it turned into something with Eric Reed, Malcolm Jenkins, and Quan Bolden, I believe it's the NFLPA, who cut the deal of, hey, we're not going to protest anymore, and in exchange, the NFL will donate money towards these said charities of social justice and everything else like that. And that became an issue where we had individuals like Malcolm Jenkins constantly being called out as a sellout, being called a coon, calling a bootlicker, and everything else like that, right? And in those cases, I do not agree. These are individuals who are taking steps towards at least trying to promote change. Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, it's since been stagnant. There's only so far you can continue to raise awareness. Every October is not only Breast Cancer Awareness Month, but Cancer Awareness Month nonetheless. We are all aware cancer exists. If we don't do anything to try to take steps to nullify that, what is the purpose of constantly having to let people know? It's ridiculous. All right. Hey, today is Religion Awareness Month. Well, we all know religion exists in different sort of locations. What are we going to do? There should be steps that must be done. In the case of Colin Kaepernick, Eric Reed, it just seemed as if it all became lip service after a period of time, because there was no sort of plan that was laid out. It was just, hey, this is how we feel. We're going to continue to feel this way, but nobody's taking any steps towards progressing, right? Fast forward until now. And Colin Kaepernick, after 3 years, wants an opportunity to play in the NFL. After, no matter what it is that he says, here we go, we get a impromptu workout that was set up on terrible sort of time constraint, where the NFL did something they never do, where they host a private workout for one individual. So that's first abnormal sort of situation. So kudos to the NFL for getting that done. However, the time frame in which they gave it to him, it could have been something where he was much more prepared when it came to time, in my opinion. But the man said he was ready for 3 years, so hey, I guess you gotta stay ready, or I should say you don't gotta get ready because you stay ready, right? The workout is set up for the Saturday. I think initially it was supposed to be on a Tuesday. Maybe the NFL couldn't do it. I couldn't remember what the deal was with that, but it was pushed to a Saturday. Colin Kaepernick expected to see, 32 representatives from all 32 teams, whether that be GMs or coaches. That's kind of asinine to come to that conclusion, because game day is on Sunday. It's not ideal, nor is it smart to have the head coaches, GMs over there evaluating talent on that Saturday when you still have preparations for your games. So that was already a disservice done to Cap, if they or whoever the hell it was that set up that particular day. Now, there was four different scenarios that happened, or I should say, things that happened on the course of this particular Saturday that changed everything. First and foremost, Cap was told he'd have receivers to throw to, but he had no idea who these receivers were, right? So rather than utilize the receivers that were going to be given to him, he wanted to bring his own. I have absolutely no problem with Cap wanting to bring his own receivers, because if you're not going to inform me who I'm throwing to, I'd rather bring my own people, right? So no problem there. The media, or I should say Cap's team, was going to be prohibited from watching or filming said, workout. I have an issue with that because you don't want somebody to control the narrative for you. I understand the NFL wants to have their own stuff, but I don't get why you couldn't have came to an agreement of, all right, we'll both film and then that'll be that. We agreed, the NFL agreed to, when they finish with the film, they will divvy it up and send it to all 32 teams and it's raw footage, but the Caps team did not trust the NFL would be forthright with what they said, which I understand. But this is something that could have been done through the lawyers to, go and fix that. The location was going to be at, I believe it was the Atlanta Falcons practice facility. 30 minutes before the workout, evidently Cap said, hey, you know what? I'm going to this high school 51 miles away. So instead of having those 25, because initially it was going to be 25 teams that would be representatives with their representatives and scouts or whatever, that would be at this particular practice. Because of the relocation at such late short notice, it ended up only being 8 teams that were represented. The relocation, Cap did himself a disservice, especially with 30 minutes beforehand. So I don't agree with him there. I get why the NFL would be upset. And last but not least would be the waiver that was given to Cap to sign, in which if he does not get signed by a team, or more importantly, this workout does not guarantee he'll get a job, he cannot sue the NFL for, I guess, collusion or saying, well, this wasn't a real workout. In the case of the NFL, I understand, but this should have been something that was already agreed upon, because this is a job interview. This is a workout to possibly get a job. If it was going to be, hey, you show up and you get a job immediately, what's the purpose of even having a workout? Work him out when he gets signed. It seems like a lot of verbiage wasn't clearly articulated amongst both parties. But here we are. We finally at the workout now, right? Cap does a 40-minute workout, pulls up in a Kunta Kinte shirt. I understand why. I get what he was trying to do. I understand the message that he's trying to do. However, if you're coming to an entity in which you've already said beforehand, the owners are pretty much slave owners and the players are on the plantation. You wearing a shirt that is Kunta Kinte, who was a free individual after, strenuous sort of with all of his backstory. Feel free to Google it if you don't know. Why are you applying to be a slave? This is where the confusion comes from. Because with Cap and the stances that he has, which I agree with in its purest form, in the catalyst or the base of where it first began, I was there with him. But now what it's since metamorphosized and transmogrified into, I don't understand the logic if you're still trying to work there. That makes no sense. Now, granted, the NFL is the largest entity when it comes to football. So when it comes to revenue or exposure and everything else like that, the NFL is the place to be. However, you can't go into hostile territory saying, man, you guys some assholes, y'all some pieces of shit, fuck y'all, but you still want to be there. That's where the confusion is. Now, I don't want to say too much about Eric Reid, but I feel as if Eric Reid was a clown from the start. All right? Forget everybody else. But Eric Reid was a clown from the start. You can't sit here and say, well, you know what? I want to be here about my black people. I want to be here to support my brothers here and there. But then a minute somebody does something that you disagree with, immediately it's something, well, you're a coon, you're a sellout, you everything. The minute he went to go try to fight against Malcolm Jenkins, I said, you know what? I'm done with Eric Reid. Because this is something that could have been done with a conversation. There's some, you guys probably have each other's number, but if you don't, you have access to where you can get that person's number, because agents know agents, organizations know organizations, and more importantly, if you're both part of this NFLPA or you have individuals who communicate through there, you could have reached out there. But when you bring anything physical off rip like that, and you're somebody who's talking about, oh, we all are people, so something wrong with you. Now, granted this, well, every brother ain't our brother. I understand that. But in the case of Eric Reid, it seems as if anybody who disagrees with this man's thought process, anybody who disagrees with whatever Cap says, no matter what it is, this man is ready to fight at all times. He's got the Beats by Dre ready, and there's no Black Friday sale. All week long, this man's ready to fight. But with Eric Reid, especially since he's already employed, and I know I've went a little bit too long on Eric Reid, but since he's already employed, but he shares the same mindset as Cap, you are an individual who claims you're on a plantation, but you're willingly being a slave for an organization that does not necessarily, or I should say the entity that does not necessarily need you. It's like you're a slave who could have punched out at 5, but you're staying there until 3 a.m. to do overtime and saying, yo, Yeah, some slave owners out here, but they say, yo, you could go home, like you could retire. Now, granted, there are contracts that you have to abide to and all the other stuff, but you can literally retire or say, I don't want to play no more. You'll give them back whatever, if they want their signing bonus back or whatever it is, but you get paid for what it is that you've done. So it's not as if you're restricted to, following this doctrine that they give you, because this is something that I don't quite understand. We continue to convolute definitions of words, where when we talk about slaves and slave owners, if there was an individual who could live until 286 or 300 years old, and you try to explain what your thoughts of slavery is and how you feel as if you're a slave now to them who are physically slaves, they would probably slap the taste out your mouth. But granted, they can't do that, because if you're 300 plus years old, I highly doubt your feeble bones would have the strength to do so. But nonetheless, going back to Cap, and with the workout, how he did himself a disservice. First and foremost, you move this 30 minutes before the workout was, set to begin. 51 miles away. 51 miles in 30 minutes is quite the task, especially if you're in the state of Atlanta. So people fixing to show up late. People probably gonna cancel altogether. And more importantly, this is an entity of the NFL that you claim did not want you anyway. So you're making it much tougher for them to even want to acquiesce to what it is that you're trying to get them to do. Then, when you're there, it's as if it's a punch in the face with the shirt on. Now, granted, I understand the message behind it. I'm not saying he's wrong for wearing the shirt, but there's a time and a place. Now, I'm not saying your advocacy should be shut down in order for you to get this job. No, but get yourself into the room and then fight. Don't sit over here, look at the system, and hate the system from the outside. Infiltrate the system, assimilate into the system, and then become the virus to destroy it from within. This is one of the issues that a ton of people have, especially when you go to war. You can't fight a war if your soldiers ain't on par, if we not here together, level faith. We fighting each other left and right. When you complain, you claim the enemy is over there, but y'all not even an army that's intact. This is what I don't quite understand with the case of Cap, because you continually call out this NFL, the entity that is the NFL, and say, well, they don't support us, they don't care about us, they slave them, but you still want to be there. If you just want to play football, you can literally go anywhere to go play football. I'm not saying the NFL is infallible. I'm not saying the NFL isn't wrong how they handle the Cap situation, because I agree, Cap was blackballed. However, when it comes to this particular weekend, Cap took the wrong steps if he was trying to get signed. And more importantly, afterwards, when he finished with the 40-minute workout, he had a couple of balls that looked great on the passes. He had a couple of them that could have been improved. But granted, it's been 3 years. He's 31 now. Not everybody gonna come out there and have some, virtuoso, knock your socks off sort of workout. You're gonna see what you're gonna see, but can the man still play? Can he be a top 64 quarterback in the league? Without question. If you're somebody who says he wouldn't be a top 64 quarterback in the league, I think you're doing yourself a disservice mentally. All right? Because when it comes, there's a ton of backup quarterbacks who got no business being in this league, bar none. Am I saying Cap should start? No. Can he be a backup quarterback on any organization? Without question. Well, not any, but most organizations, without question. Right now, dealing with him trying to get this job, or I should say, after the workout, where he said, he's been ready for 3 years, he's been denied for 3 years, and he's not running away from anything. You lied. Why? Because you denied interviews from the media outside of your own team. You didn't even really take questions like that. It seemed like this entire thing was set up for that post-workout interview, so he could get that out, so it could become a screen grab or video cut up that you could put on social media and help increase his brand. Because that's where I come from. That's what I've come to the conclusion to, after watching how everything is played out, because none of this makes sense. In the case of the NFL, I don't think this would have been a real workout. In the case of Cap, I don't think he actually took the workout seriously. I feel as if both teams are duping and hoodwinking everybody in the public. I think people are completely missing what's actually happening here. I think it's a whole genjutsu from the start from both parties. And it started with the NFL. They started the genjutsu, and then Cap probably used his eye. He used his Sharingan and said, oh, I peeped the genjutsu. I'm about to use mine too. And the only people getting caught in it is the people in the public. Because nobody's actually looking at it like, yeah, you know what? Both these sides are stupid. And one of the reasons why is, as I said earlier, it's always an us versus them. You can't just call it down the middle. Two things can exist, right? I'll give you a wild extreme analogy, because I give extreme analogies to break things down very simply. Because if you don't make it extreme, people don't usually understand it. Let's just say every Tuesday of October after 11:30, everybody who goes outside gets raped, right? We can acknowledge rape is wrong, correct? We fast forward 7 years into the future. Nothing has been done regarding everybody in October on a random Tuesday after 11:30 is getting raped. If you know of this, right, since 7 years prior, if you now go outside on the Tuesday or in October after 11:30 and you out there at 11:48 and you now get raped, it is wrong that you got raped, without question. However, can we acknowledge that you made a stupid decision going out, trying to take the chance to not get raped? Not to say that you should have been, but we must look at both sides and say, maybe you could have moved a little bit different. That doesn't disregard this being wrong, right? Now, in the case of Cap, the NFL, and how this whole thing was handled, both of them made wrong made wrong moves. Acknowledging that they both made wrong moves does not exonerate one of the parties of their wrong actions. We just need to be able to call it down the middle, and that's all. Cap refusing to take questions after the fact, that raises a red flag for me. The NFL refusing to let his team be able to go and record everything, that raises a red flag for me. But ultimately, the way I see it is, as I said earlier in my last video that I made, I do not envision a circumstance in which Cap will play another down in the NFL. I do not see it happening. I think this was probably his last opportunity to get that job. Initially I was going to make the video earlier, but then I said, you know what, let me wait until the details of the waiver comes out. And now seeing the waiver, I understand why he did not sign it, but at the same time, you shouldn't have agreed to go and do the workout. This all could have been handled beforehand with the lawyers. And ultimately, moving forward, the way I see it is, unless they're going to try to communicate and make everything public, there's no purpose of everybody having to continually talk about this. There's no purpose, because we're letting the public control the narrative. The individuals involved, they'll say, well, this is my piece, this is my piece, and nobody expands. Everything seems extremely vague, because there's details that should be in plain sight that are omitted from every single statement. Somebody lying. That's the way I see it. But ultimately, in the case of Cap, to just wrap this whole thing up, if this was his opportunity to possibly get a job in the NFL again, it's clipped. Take the L out of lover. It's over, brother. That's it. I do not think he's going to get another opportunity to get the job. In the case of the NFL, I believe Cap sued them for the collusion and everything else. And if I'm mistaken or not, early in the year, did Cap not win? Or he got a settlement that he settled with them? I don't think they said how much dollars that Cap got, but he can disclose that information to the people, because you sued this entity that is the NFL, but you still want to go there. So if the NFL want to be salty, like, yo, we're not going to give this man a job, he sued us, how much things he think he can get away with? I understand that too. Does that make the NFL right? No, but I get it. It'd be kind of odd for them to let this man come back in. Now, in the case of Cap, he wants complete leverage, which you should aspire to have. However, the cookie don't always crumble like that. You've seen it with AB. He said, I want teams to play by my rules. They not playing by your rules. And what do we see today, on Tuesday, November the 19th, 2019? AB apologizing to Mr. Kraft, trying to get his job back. You see what happens when you try to get your leverage? It don't always play like that, because you are at the mercy of an entity that you want to be a part of. If I was Cap, I would get everybody who agrees with me, everybody who's willing to fight and protest with me, start my own football league, be the face over there. It's a slow game, but in the end game, you'll get what you were looking for. But of course, nobody's willing to do that. But that's my thoughts. Let me know in the comment section what you felt about the Cap situation. Let's have some dialogue about it.